Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Scenes.
Oh, he always says that, right?
He does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
It's kind of
We
annoying
have to let
that way,
everybody
right?
know.
Yeah.
I think they kind of know when they're listening to
Fuck
it.
off. Alright, welcome to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Ben Kittle. Today, I am joined by Sean Grimes and Nate Dennett, and we are in Sean's fucking mom-mobile.
We
It's
are.
not a mom-mobile.
It's the mom.
Compact SUV.
The mom.
That can-
No.
Just
we
with
can't,
an
we
E
can't
and a
name the
full-size
car. We
kayak.
can't name the car. We're gonna have to
It
bleep
has
that
a-
shit. Whoop
It
that
is
out.
it is a. You can fit a full-size kayak in it.
Canoe,
Inside.
allegedly, we haven't tried it.
They can
It's
fit a full-size
until-
canoe somewhere
it didn't,
else.
unless
with
there's
you.
pictures, it didn't happen.
I think
There is
I'm-
pictures in the boners when I bought this.
In the
pictures
boners?
of the owners.
Sean's got boners on the mind. We just
Well,
got
you
done
said
talking about
mom-mobile.
priapism, so Sean's thinking about his wang.
I think I've been boiled down to the guy that makes the shitty jokes about any innuendo possible.
Makes
In your
sense.
life, or
Nah. I mean, I do it quite often, but on the podcast, there's a limited amount of time, and people often, or there's not a whole lot of. They're getting in a what the hell am I trying to say? They're getting a, not finite, but it's like an extract version of my crazy personality.
Apparently,
Yes.
I have to try really hard to slowly bring my coffee to my mouth because it's an iced.
I know, which is actually I wanted to talk to you about your elbow. So, guys, so we're coming to you from my large automobile, Dong. See, there's another
Heyo.
prism joke. You can also get it from the boner medicine, right? What is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Boner medicine?
Boner medicine.
Like Cialis,
Cialis, yeah. Levitra.
Viagra.
Right. You know who I bet didn't ever need Viagra or any sort of drugs? The big man of Andre the Giant.
That's true.
That was a
That's
nice
who I'm-
circle.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
guys, so
Segue.
yeah, Nate did really good about that, but I wanted to talk really
We're
quick.
not there yet.
Damn it!
I wanted to talk...
That's called premature.
Behind the
Conversation.
scene.
My brain is
Premature
off
BTS.
today. I'm normally so much quicker than this.
So effectively, guys, we're in the car today because we had 2 episodes in the can, which is another kind of boner joke
Poop
that
joke.
we could probably get out there. But they're currently hit up on a destroyed laptop that we're working our way through. But we didn't want to leave all 5 of our fans
In the lurch,
in the wind.
yes.
with,
So we wanted to give you a
breaking
tasty
wind.
treat,
So we
a little-
decided to give you a little bit of BTS.
little nummy nums.
Which is actually going to play into hopefully the episode that you'll be hearing on a bi-weekly basis by us. See, I use bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Hey,
let's
man.
not go there. Let's not go there.
Okay. So basically, we're sitting in my car, and it's 63 degrees in sunny upstate New York in mid-November, and we have 29 minutes before we're supposed to be back doing the other work that we do for companies that we work for. But we wanted to talk about, as Nate brought up, a little bit of Andre the Giant.
So I think this...
See, I said little bit.
Little bit,
Little
yes.
bit.
I think this stemmed from one of the things that kind of mesmerized me as a child was the WWF. That's what I know it as. I'm not going to refer to it as the WWE
No.
because that's lame and it makes it seem more of a sham, even though it is a sham. I'm not saying it isn't. But
It's Shakespearean theater at its finest.
exactly,
True.
it's one of the things that mesmerized me as a kid because of how much lore there was involved with it. Like there was different feuds and secret brothers and secret fathers and other like turmoils and relationships. And I was talking to the guys about it. And we could do, I think what we're doing now on one specific character is perfect because it's too vast to do in an episode by
On
itself.
WWF
Yeah, on
alone.
WWF
Yeah.
because
What's the brothers that died? One of them died in Syracuse.
Owen Hart.
Owen Hart.
Bret Hart, he died at
He died here, I thought.
he might have died here, but he died at In Your House.
No, like
97?
Syracuse.
No,
Not
Owen
my
Hart.
house.
No. It was the special, the pay-per-view special. It was like In Your House, something house special. He came in as some sort of different character than Owen Hart, and he was on like the zip line
It was
down,
in Kansas City.
Yeah.
down into the ring, and he like essentially hung himself by accident because it just didn't work out. And it was crazy because Shawn Michaels did the same entrance like 2 years beforehand.
That's who I was thinking of.
And he did it flawlessly, and that was on a different pay-per-view special. Shawn Michaels ziplined into the ring, and I think it was the Blue Blazer, maybe something like
Blue
that.
Blue Blazer was Owen Hart's other name.
Yep.
There. Yeah.
Yep. And then he died because of that horrific accident, which is very sad. And I remember the day that he died because I was a WWF fan at the time. But anyways,
Excellent.
one of the first and the inaugural inductee to the WWF, now the WWE Hall of Fame, is Mr. Andre the Giant. And how did we just say that we announced or pronounced his name?
So it's Andre Rene Roussimo.
Roussimo.
Maybe it's Roussimo.
Oh.
Well, actually, that's a very Russian last name.
It is a very Russian name.
It is.
So anyways, we love Andre the Giant.
Yes.
Because we were deciding what episodes we were going to do next, and of course everybody wants to talk about Princess Bride because there's a ton of stuff to talk about, and that kind of came up in our conversations. But it spun us down this rabbit hole of Andre the Giant.
Yes.
Kind of, extraneous pieces that we had.
Who ran around the set calling everybody boss, by the way, on Princess Bride, as like a way to negate his giant stature with everybody, so they wouldn't feel so intimidated by him. He called everybody boss.
Which is probably, that's pretty cool of him to do something like that, because when he talks, I always thought that in the Princess Bride that his voice had been altered, but that's just his voice.
No, that was
his voice.
That was a side effect of his
His
the time they called
priapism?
gigantism.
Yeah.
His priapism.
But it actually brought up a good point because my father, God rest his soul, he's alive, but when he was a youngin', when he was in his 20s, in I guess would be the late 60s, early 70s.
By the way, people are walking by the car that is steaming up at the windows, really creeped out about 3 dudes hanging out inside.
Anyways, he was on a break from college, from Oneonta State, and he went up to, what's the northern town with the horses and the ponies in New York?
Saratoga?
Yeah, Saratoga. And Andre the Giant at the time owned a bar up in Saratoga, and my dad worked for him for a summer. And
That's
apparently
pretty awesome.
It took him an amazing, this is, purely kind of coincidental, and you'll see it everywhere, but apparently, according to my dad, it's very true. It would take him like 30 or 40 beers to even get a
buzz,
a little bit drunk.
That's insane.
And this was before he weighed 500 pounds and was probably only 6'9".
Yeah.
Around that time.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if your body continuously grew for your entire life?
Yeah, but it's not even just the growing. It was the fact that he grew after the plates all fused together. So it's like a painful process. Yeah. It's not like something enjoyable.
Yeah. I think it kind of like encapsulates his life was very tumultuous, and it was almost kind of sad because people feared him, and like he was in constant pain. He couldn't even get drunk.
Yeah.
Like he would take like 80 beers to get drunk, and he made the most of it though. He found his way into wrestling through various European like traveling wrestling rings. He bounced around UK, France, Germany, and then eventually found his way to Canada, where he sort of got noticed and was very popular in Canada and Canadian wrestling.
Yep.
And I don't know if it was there or if he traveled south into the United States, but Vince McMahon Sr., the not terrible one, first noticed him and brought him into the World Wrestling, or the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, which is what it was known as before.
Well, in Canada, like you were talking in Europe, there is Chuck Wepner.
Chucka Wepner?
Chuck Wepner.
Okay, who's
he
Chuck Wepner?
He was kind of like a boxing promoter, but he ended up kind of like pushing wrestling in Canada as well. And
so Vince McMahon Sr. brought him into the scene, and that's kind of all she wrote after that. He was with the WWF, which was the WWF.
Yeah.
And then he sold it to, which I find is funny if we can take a break there. He sold it to his son, Vince McMahon Jr., who's the shitty one that took all the steroids.
Yeah.
like you sell it to your son. You don't will it to him. Maybe that's why why he's such a crazy person.
He might have actually sold it to him for some sort of weird capital gains,
like
money shelling issue.
Yeah, which I wouldn't put past
or
the McMahons.
Even wrestling in the late 70s was still nothing. Wrestling didn't hit until 86, 85.
It was like, it was popular-ish, like the first...
TV. It was like the MTV generation, really kind of like kicked it all into gear.
They had the first Wrestlemania, and it was like in the 70s, and it wasn't until the third... Andre the Giant, I think, is probably most famous for, or at least in the Americas, or in America, for WrestleMania 3.
Was that the Iron Sheik one?
No, when Hulk Hogan body slammed him, and he was, up until that point, he was thought to be unbody slammable. And it was like this. If you watch wrestling now, people are doing fucking flips and shit and all sorts of nonsense. But this was like he just body slammed him and pinned him, and that was that. And that was when Andre the Giant was kind of, his career sort of tapered after the late 80s, as his life was kind of drawing to an inevitable end.
Well, there was that moment because like they pitted him, the constant fake.
Yeah, feuds. There's so many feuds.
Like there was a time where it was like feuding with like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and then was like, and the same thing with the Iron Sheik, but then they would like join forces,
right? Yeah.
At the end, and guys, we're in my large canoe, not holding car. I'm gonna roll down a window for a second.
It's steamy.
It's very steamy. So if you hear passing cars,
yeah,
that'd be why.
Thank God none of us have farted yet.
Oh.
But anyways, the Mexican food was great.
Anyway, back to the eighth wonder of the world.
Yes.
Which Andre the Giant was
known
as,
for, yeah.
Right? And he, not only was he
Ben's
known
gas
as...
is the ninth.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. It is the ninth. He's the only person ever to be labeled the eighth wonder of the world. There's like a dozen different...
like shitty, like...
places.
Like small towns that think
King Kong is the other.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure there's a small town that I drove through in Oklahoma that was the home of like the biggest ball of yarn.
Yep.
That called it the eighth wonder of the world, and I was like, you're Oklahoma.
The eighth
The
wonder
Great
of the
Wall
world,
of China,
also
the Taj Mahal, Stonehenge.
Or there's a really large chair in Massachusetts, which is the eighth wonder of the world.
That's interesting. That's definitely comparable to Machu Picchu.
God bless you.
Nah.
So I mean, like, there's so much wrestling wise, but it's like there's so many beyond the 4-post ring. Beyond the 4-post ring, there was he had a very kind of quick acting career.
Yep.
Well, I mean, wrestling is acting, but
Right.
I mean, it's funny, as Ben was saying, how like he was very specific about ensuring that like people around him wasn't intimidated by his height.
Yeah.
Or would think that like he was, truly like people like to overrun it, that he was just a phenomenally like, he was the nicest man in the world.
Right.
Blah 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 blah. But I don't even think that cuts enough slack. Minus the fact he was insanely tall and was like, kind of used as a caricature of a human.
Yeah.
He was truly not only a good person, but an entertainer.
Yeah.
He liked being in the center.
Right. Yeah. And I think it just kind of speaks to the way that he approached the whole Princess Bride thing, speaks to his sort of, his way of adapting to how the world perceives him. Mm-hmm. So he was very aware of himself, which is kind of is a quality that not many people have, or not many people employ as they interact with others. But I mean, this was a person that he couldn't even join. Like, he faced so many like hardships, just things that we take for granted, like going to school. Like, he couldn't get a ride to school on the school bus because he was too big. He couldn't enlist in the French army because the time they used trenches, and the trenches weren't dug deep enough to conceal him, so he couldn't even be included in the army, which is some place that, like, you think of, like, oh, okay, I'll go to the army, they'll take pretty much everybody as long as you can, like, pass a test, like an IQ exam or whatever. He couldn't even do that because of his stature. So instead of, taking that and turning it into a negative thing, he found a way to use it positively, and even beyond that, made people feel good when he was around them, who may have been like afraid of his stature.
So you said your dad said he was only like 6 foot something?
Yeah.
So that's probably because in the mid-'80s he actually had back surgery and was reduced to a height of 6'10" after that back
Really?
surgery. Yeah.
That's insane.
The thing that really kind of bummed me out, and I don't want to leave this on a bummed note, but we should probably leave this in a minute, is when he died traveling to his father's
funeral.
Yeah. That sucks.
Died of congestive heart failure.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you would imagine 520 pounds somewhere in that neighborhood, 7'4", somewhere in that neighborhood. I mean, the human body can take only so much, and
it's a lot of blood.
It is a lot of blood. That's a lot of man.
He was actually offered a contract to play for the Washington Redskins.
Nice.
How could that even be?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he was an expert card player and a collector of fine wines.
Nice.
He had a ranch somewhere in the South in the United States. He also had a daughter, which I found to be interesting.
Yeah.
They never mentioned anything about...
She's very difficult to...
I looked a lot for her, or for like
a picture?
Yeah.
Anything.
Nothing.
She's pretty shrouded.
It's like the Hitlers that live in New York City.
Right.
Like the last remaining...
Damn Hitlers. What?
No, the last remaining relatives of
I got you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know the crappy Billy Crystal movie My Giant?
Yeah.
It was in 98?
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say crappy, but...
No, it was pretty crappy.
Pretty bad. It was bad.
So Andre the Giant inspired him to write that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice uplifting note.
Remember when Billy Crystal was funny?
Yeah.
Oh my god. People, speaking of Princess Bride, like, they had to halt production. He was so hilarious. At Miracle Max.
Yeah, that scene is hilarious.
Allegedly, one of the production staff, like, bruised a rib from laughing so hard. I don't know if that kind of shit actually happens, but...
Yeah, that's
it was
hilarious.
a funny scene.
Now
and
he's just
Andre the
sad.
Giant was pretty great in that movie.
He was.
Yeah.
Very noble.
People talk a lot about how Mandy Patinkin and what's his name?
Carrie Elwes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really kind of like...
I know, but the way Patinkin and Andre, riffed off each other, it was really good.
You could actually see the chemistry.
Yeah.
Oh my god, look at the amount of hairs on the back, on my headrest. I'm grossed out. I finally turned around to look at Ben. I've been looking at him between the little gap between my headrest and my chair.
Yeah, that's not a euphemism.
No.
Gross.
I'll check that out. But yeah, so...
I think with that...
I think that's kind of a good place to wrap it.
Pretty good.
There's a lot more out there, guys. And there's a lot of... Something to always kind of remember is, you can always pull the art from the artist, but the artist's lives themselves can actually be very, very real and very human.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Paris Hilton.
Yes. Minus her.
She
Pretty much everybody else but her.
Yeah.
Even Nikki Hilton is fine. But Paris is just like... What was...
Enigma.
What was her BFF and then they weren't BFFs?
Nicole Richie.
Who was married to Joel Madden.
Lionel Richie's... Lionel Richie's daughter.
Joel Madden's wife. Joel Madden, of course.
You know how...
the Madden brothers from...
We started this podcast and I never thought that we would have made it around to Paris Hilton. I would have bet money that we would not have talked about her in this.
Yeah. I just read an entire thing where she made terribly racist comments.
Of course she did.
Which is why she disappeared.
I mean, we're going to go down some ridiculous rabbit holes. So.
It was actually a clickbait article while I was using the John a couple of days ago.
Yeah, those are pretty good. It's like 15 things that you don't know about this person.
It's amazing.
You'll never guess what happens with this stapler.
Which I'm so annoyed.
I'll save you the clicking. It staples shit.
Right.
Waka waka.
There's actually a good Twitter feed of somebody who hashtag stop clickbait, and they ruin it all. It's fucking great. Anyway, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. We're not going to go around the table this week, but let's go around the seating arrangement in the Mom-mobile and give a recommendation for something, will we? Anybody?
Go ahead.
Start? I'll start.
You douche.
Let's go around the table. I'll start first. I'm the executive. Yes, sir.
All right, so this week I'll actually recommend a podcast that I'm enjoying. So it's a podcast called We the People. It's by Keith Ellison, who is from Wisconsin. and it's pretty good. It's just a quick little, usually about 20-minute episodes. Kind of talks about how the middle class engages the economy. It's got some interesting little subjects.
He's the senator from Wisconsin.
From Wisconsin,
isn't he?
yeah. He's kind of making a name for himself right now. But he's got a cool little podcast, so I would recommend it. Go check it out.
Sean?
A few nights ago, I sat and rewatched Orson Welles' F is for Fake. Or
Nice.
F for Fake.
Nice.
Which he did with his long-term mistress, which we should actually do a behind-the-scenes on because he had an insane life, Orson did.
Let's do it.
It's insane. Like, the amount that actually went through.
Also, sorry to interrupt, Sean,
No, go
but
ahead.
speaking of things we should do behind the scenes on, if the listeners have something they want us to go behind the scenes on,
Yes.
head over to the website. We've got a little link down at the bottom. You can fill out a form, tell us what you want us to take a look at. We'll dive deep into it, and we'll
And
do
that
an
is
episode.
not a euphemism.
Yeah, and we may even mention you during the podcast. Who knows?
Mom.
Anyway, go ahead, John.
Anyways, F is
for
for
Fake.
It's like an hour and 20 minutes. It took him years to complete. It's an amazing film. It's a little bit trippy in that 70s way, but if you got an hour and 20 minutes and you don't want to rewatch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, give it a shot.
Fair enough.
Nice.
I have both recommendation and something that people should stay away from.
Drugs.
Right? No. Do them.
Is it both?
Um,
Is it you recommend drugs, but you recommend people stay away from
in moderation. So the recommendation would be My Dinner with Andre. Came out in the 80s. It's a very good movie if you are into an intellectual thought evening. It's very thought-provoking, I would say. And if you like people that tell stories, like if you're a fan of listening to your dad tell stories of the years before and of his life before, then I would recommend this movie. If you like the Transformers, don't watch it. You should also not procreate if you like the Transformers movies.
But in the original Transformers movie, you know who was Optimus Prime.
I know that Weird Al Yankovic was featured in the animated version
Orson
of it.
Welles in the animated version.
Well, there you go.
And he swore in a Chinese
Wow.
movie.
Anyways, My Dinner with Andre, which I thought was funny because we're talking about Andre the Giant. And also, one movie that I watched painfully for way too long that is, like, coveted as something that's important to cinematic history, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, featuring Salad Dressing Man and Paul Newman, and who's the second?
It's so sad that that's what he's remembered for because he did so many other
He was
things in his life.
yeah, I know. But
it was-
I can't remember who was the secondary person, or not the secondary, but his co-star,
It
Paul
was Robert
Newman.
Redford.
Yeah, that's it. Paul Newman, Robert Redford. This, I don't
Who allegedly is
understand.
giving up. He's giving up acting or whatever.
That's fine. After this movie, he should have given up because I don't understand how this movie is revered as like a cinematic success. It is the most bizarre film I've ever watched in my life. There's a scene where one of the characters, I think it was Salad Dressing Man, he was hitting on Robert Redford's girlfriend after she had just boned him the night before, and they went on like a tra-la-la like musical, like the whole scene, like 2.5 minutes of like them like flirting together and saying, "Oh, if you weren't with my best friend, we'd totally be together," which is bizarre. And then there's
It was
like
actually shot, anyways. Bad production.
there's at least a 2-minute section where it's like newspaper reelings, and they're just reviewing newspaper clippings of their escapades. It's so like, and I am a film person. I do enjoy film, and I can find the good pieces of it. But this one is a big old fat thumbs down. Avoid it at all costs.
I would watch it. I would never watch it again. I've watched it, sadly, twice in my life.
Ugh.
Well, I
A
did
net total of 5 hours you'll never get
I
back.
did a classic movie.
Talk
thing.
about ending the episode on a.
Buh.
Anyways, kids, enjoy, and hopefully we'll have a twofer coming towards you sooner or later. And yeah. Ben,
Yeah.
What do you got? Close this out, Benny. Since Nikki's not
I know we
here.
don't have Nikki this week.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nikki.
Anyway, well, we really hope you're enjoying the show so far. Check out our website. If you got a couple of minutes, give us a rating on iTunes. Share it. subscribe. If you hate the fuck out of this webcast or this podcast, give us a review too. We don't care.
We'll take it all. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but please like, share, subscribe. Give us a rating on iTunes if you wouldn't mind. Check out the website, btspod.com. We're on social media at BTS_pod on Instagram and Twitter, and then you can get us Behind the Scenes Pod on Facebook.
And Google.
Don't
forget the Googs.
So, Nikki's not here, so I guess I'll take it away. We'll see you backstage next time on Behind the Scenes.
Behind the Scenes.
Cheers.